Hey, what's up you guys? Luso here with Team D Plus Gaming, and we have Mr. Prestidigitation giving you his 6 Sam deck profile for the September 1st ban list.
Oh, hello, YouTube. Now, 6 Sams are a deck that many people love to hate, but it's a fairly easy deck to play, and it's a good one to get into if you're a beginner. Or, I mean, it can be sided against fairly well, but if you're a more advanced player, then the fun can come from trying to play games 2 and 3 well. But to get started on this deck profile, one of the staple cards that you need is 3 Kagemusha of the 6 Samurai. This is your tuner. It's very easily searchable by a lot of cards. Another card that's really good that will get that out of your hand for you is Legendary 6 Samurai Kageki. When this one is summoned, it lets you special summon another 6 Sam from your hand. And it just has to be level 4 or lower, so you can use that on a lot of other cards as well. One of those that you don't really need Kageki for, but it's useful, is Legendary 6 Samurai Kizan. This card you can special summon if you control a 6 Sam monster. And like Kageki, this card gets an attack boost if you have a certain number of 6 Sams on the field. For Kizan, you need to have 2 other 6 Sams, and for Kageki, you need to have 1 other 6 Sam. So they do get fairly good attack boosts, kind of like how Fire Fist get their boosts from their spell cards. And then another 6 Sam you'll want to run is Legendary 6 Samurai Nishi. This is a card that I teched in a long time ago when I noticed its effect. What you do is you banish 2 6 Sams from your graveyard, and then you can send a monster on either side of the field back to the hand. And this actually can be activated during either player's turn. So this is a really nice choice now that compulsory has been limited to 1. Another card you want to run is Elder the 6 Samurai. At first glance, this card isn't very good. I mean, you can special summon it if you don't control a monster and your opponent does. But one of the other cards I'll get to later, Asceticism of the 6 Samurai, this is a really nice target for it, because you can summon a Kagemusha, and then you can special summon this directly from your deck. And then another one you'll want is Hand of the 6 Samurai. This has an effect that you can use as many times per turn as you want, but you tribute another 6 Sam monster in order to destroy a monster your opponent controls. And this can even tribute itself, so if you need to make room on your field, you can do that. The only requirement for that is that you have another 6 Sam monster. And another card you want is Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai. This you can special summon from your hand like Kizan just by controlling a 6 Sam monster. And this has a bit more attack than the other monsters in case you need to get over something. And also if it's destroyed by card effect, you can add a 6 Sam monster in your graveyard to your hand. So if you've run out of special summoning power and it gets destroyed by a card effect, like Dark Hole or Torrential, then you can grab a Kageki out of your grave, bring that back to hand. And then to finish out the monsters, you'll want a Great Shogun Shien. This card is optional given the current meta, but essentially the effect is that your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap per turn. And besides that, it's a 2500 beater, so you can use it to get over any high attack monsters, which the 6 Sams are notorious for having trouble with. And then onto your spells. Some of the absolute staples are Shien's Smoke Signal. You want to run 3 of these. This is essentially a reinforcement of the army for any level 3 or lower 6 Sams. And then you can run an actual Rhoda, so you can actually get the equivalent of having 4 reinforcement of the army. And you want 3 Asceticism of the 6 Samurai. What this does is you target a monster you control, a 6 Sam monster, and you bring out a monster with a different name from your deck that has the same attack. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have a Kagemusha stuck on the field with nothing to synchro summon with, you can activate Asceticism to target it, and then bring out an Elder of the 6 Samurai. And then you'll want to run 2 6 Sam United. What this does is it lets, every time you summon a 6 Sam monster, you get a Bushido counter on it. And you can have a maximum of 2, but once you have those 2, you can send it to your graveyard to draw 2. And if you're really in a pinch, you can send it to the graveyard with only 1 token to draw. At that point, it ends up just breaking even, but with how much 6 Sam's special summon, it ends up being a +1 pretty much every time it hits the field. So it is an option for the deck to run 3, but I honestly prefer it at 2. Then for some staple cards that you'll want, Forbidden Lance at 2. At 3 it gets a bit cloggy, but I know a lot of people like that. Then you want 3 MST. This, even though 6 Sams can negate back row really well, sometimes you do need some extra security, so Mystical Space Typhoon helps there. Dark Hole, of course, and Book of Moon is very nice for any monster effects that would destroy some of your more important monsters. And then this deck is fairly trap heavy. So some of the main ones you'll want are Musakani Magatama. What this does is, if a spell or trap is activated that would destroy a card while you control a face-up 6 Sam, you can just activate this and you negate that effect and then destroy the card. So, like, if your opponent has a monster, just for the sake of example, like Man-Eater Bug, you can activate this and it would destroy that monster and keep your monster safe. Then you'll also want Double-Edged Sword Technique. This lets you special summon 2 6 Sam monsters from the graveyard. Unfortunately, they are destroyed in the end phase, so you do have to use them right away. Or if you happen to activate it during your opponent's turn, you can use them as fodder for just destroying other 6 Sam monsters. Like, for example, Great Shogun Shien has an extra effect where if he would be destroyed, you can destroy a different face-up 6 Sam monster you control instead. So you can chain Double-Edged Sword Technique to an effect that would destroy him and then destroy the other monster instead. And then some generic traps you'll want. 2 Mirror Force, since 6 Sams are notorious for having trouble with high attack. This can just clear your opponent's field. 2-Dimensional Prison for the same reason. You want a Bottomless Trap Hole. You can get rid of anything with high attack. And then 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device. This is really good for getting around cards that have effects that protect them from being destroyed. And then onto your extra deck. The most important card in the extra deck easily is Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. Once per turn, he can just negate the activation of a spell or trap card. And so this works during either player's turn. This is an absolutely fantastic effect. This hurts almost every deck there is. If you use him in combination with Great Shogun Shien, that can lock down a lot of decks like Prophecy. I mean, Great Shogun Shien alone is just terrible against, well, it's amazing against Prophecy, since they can only activate 1 spell or trap per turn. And even in the new format, with how slow they're getting compared to how they were, it still really hurts their plays. And then some other synchros you'll want are Ally of Justice Cataster. I mean, this can get around any non-dark monster that your opponent happens to get out. Naturia Beast. You can just mill 2 cards to negate a spell or a spell card, and then Barkion to mill 2 to negate a trap card. These do have to be made with an Earth Tuner and an Earth monster, so you do have to make these with Kagmusha and Elder, or Kagmusha and Kizan, since they're all Earth. Some other synchros you want are Black Rose Dragon. This just clears the field. It's late game, if you're really in a pinch, it's just an absolutely fantastic card to get out. Another one you'll want is Colossal Fighter. This is a card that gains attack points for every warrior in your graveyard, and if it's destroyed by battle, you can special summon it back out onto the field. Another one you want is Crimson Blader. This hurts a lot of decks, Like if your opponent runs a synchro deck, you can use it just to keep them from synchro summoning. Like if you destroy one of their monsters by battle with Crimson Blader, then they can't normal or special summon in 5 or higher during their next turn. So that's an absolutely fantastic card against a lot of decks. But then this deck also has some Xyz power. Some of the more common things people will run in this is Abyss Dweller. This basically shuts off your opponent's graveyard. Shadow of the Six Samurai Shien. This is a fairly good card. It has 2,500 attack, so it's good for that, and then it can also boost one of your weaker 6-sam monsters up to 2,000 attack for the turn. So if you really need to push for game, you can do that. Also, Gaga Cowboy. This is a great card to burn for game. Like, if you're attacking with a lot of level 4s and you're really close to game, you can just detach one from it and burn your opponent for 800 life points. You got Photon Papilloperative. If your opponent is very fond of summoning monsters in defense or setting cards, you can flip them face up and then attack over them to do your opponent a lot of life point damage. You can also make Maestro the Symphony Djinn. This is great for if your opponent has really high attack monsters, because then you can just flip them face down and run them over. You got Tempo the Percussion Djinn. This card is very good against Evil Swarms, because if your opponent gets out Ophion against you to keep you from synchro summoning, you can go into Tempo, and then you can, after they detach to get Infestation Pandemic, you can use its effect to detach Ophion's last material, and then you can start summoning again. Then another one you'll want is Levier the Sea Dragon. This, if you're using Legendary Six Samurai Anishi's effect to banish 2 6-sams from the graveyard in order to essentially compulse something, Levier can help you get those back. Or if your opponent is fond of banishing your monsters, you can get them back that way as well. And then lastly, you'll want Wind Up Zenmaines. I mean, this card is good in any deck that can make rank 3s, because it's just a great wall to keep your opponent from attacking for a couple turns, or in the very least, it makes them use a lot of resources to get over it. But that is my 6-sam deck. Hope you've enjoyed watching.
So thanks for watching, guys. As always, please like and subscribe for more. Team D Plus Gaming signing out.